Hello, friends. Some of you know me, not everybody. My name's John McLean, and for the last 12 months, it really has been my extraordinary privilege to get to be the minister of record at Unity of Verde Valley in beautiful Cottonwood, Arizona. I have come to treasure so many of you, the ones that I know, and I thank you for allowing me to be of service to you. It's been important for me. During this time, I've been there about 9 times, I think, live and in person, and I will have done 12 talks on video through the miracle of what we get to do now at no cost. And I based all those talks on the concept of the 12 powers, something that Charles Fillmore introduced into our tradition. I have to admit I'm not exactly sure when that book was written. I think it was in the 20s or 30s. It was not a very early book. But it is a notion that is useful for so many people to understand that there are a variety of aspects of our everyday awareness. There is a corresponding power at the level of soul. And no matter what we're going through, we can call upon any of these powers to heal, to prosper, or to bless, and to help us safely, intelligently, compassionately, and wisely navigate all of life's experiences and challenges. We have gone through 11 of the 12 at this point, and it is always good to review. So I will remind you, I will remind myself, actually, what the 12 different powers are. And they are faith, strength, judgment, understanding, imagination, power, love, will, order, zeal, renunciation, and last but most comprehensively, life itself. Life, all capital letters, like the magazine we grew up with. Life. A footnote that you may have noticed, I know at least one of you did, that one of the many things that I so treasure about our tradition of learning and practice is that we are to bring, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, we are to bring all texts to judgment. We do not accept anything because it is said or written, but we always employ the capacity of critical thinking to everything that we're seeing and hearing, and critical thinking about our own thoughts. I have gotten great inspiration from the basic ideas in this book, but you may have noticed, for example, when we talked about the power of zeal. For me, zeal is an old-fashioned kind of word that was sort of non-specific, but curiosity seemed more potent and current and applicable to me in my search. And so we give ourselves permission to deconstruct, and reconstruct. We don't just trash an idea without bringing critical thinking and imagination and understanding and experience to what it might be and how it might be more powerfully engaged in what we're working on. The same thing was renunciation. Oh, I was there in person when we did renunciation because I remember a part of it was a little silly. But for me, renunciation is most powerfully felt as forgiveness, as a willingness to let go. And in that kind of understanding, I've got something to work with. So I invite you and remind you to always know it's not about merely taking what works and leave the rest, Not one of my favorite expressions. But taking what works, working it, and if there are ideas that are based on truth principles that don't quite work for you, then you bring your own critical thinking to it and your own 12 powers to see how what that author, what that teacher, what that speaker, what that avatar may have been talking about, how is it going to be applicable for you in your life? I love our faith tradition, that we are not only encouraged, but it is a demandment that we actively participate in what we are learning. Okay, let's talk about life. Now, this author, William Warch, author of How to Use Your 12 Gifts from God. William Warch says that life is realized on 3 levels: subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. Okay, that might be true. Life is the ability to heal and to restore. Well, yes, that is true, and that's a function of biology. I don't know that that's a spiritual power. That we do not need to give any conscious or even unconscious guidance to our body in telling it how to digest food. I wouldn't know what to say. I'd only hope that whenever I eat, my body knows exactly what it's supposed to do. So life is really a matter of biology, of chemistry, of a natural system that completely understands that all actions and reactions are of mutual benefit. All actions and reactions are of mutual benefit in nature. If I scratch myself, which I seem to do all the time when I'm gardening, I come back into my casita and go, where's that blood coming from? I can't give direction to my body on how to heal that, and yet in a day or two it does. So I stand in awe of the mystery of the élan vital, the life essence, the life force itself, that knows how to bring forth healing and right order for all the things that are required to have a healthy body and a productive experience. Something to be in awe of, to behold and to marvel at, rather than to direct. The author does say, which I wholly agree with in every possible way, that the greatest thing an individual can do is to dedicate themselves to the development of awareness. Knowing, referring, as he says, that life is realized, it's understood, it's expressed, it's created on 3 levels: subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. Therefore, the greatest thing that any one of us can do is to dedicate ourselves to the development of our conscious mind. This is the essence of New Thought. This is the essence of Buddhism. This is the essence of the principles of the perennial philosophy. And it's the essence of unity. That growth in consciousness is required on our part. And when we do that, well, soul growth becomes an emergent property of that effort. I know that to be true in myself. I know that to be true. So life and our experiences and our everyday life, not our biological life, but our relationships, our encounters, we can approach all of it in a more mindful way. And the best tool that I know for growth in awareness is to ask two simple questions of myself. And the first question at any encounter, at any challenge, receiving any news of any kind, it is imperative that I ask myself, what am I thinking? How am I responding to what I'm hearing, what I'm learning, what I'm seeing? What am I thinking? Have I observed this merely as a camera would, without putting any label on it, without naming it, but simply observing it? Have I done that? Or have I rushed to judgment and said, oh, no, you didn't say that, or, well, that's not going to happen in my life, or in my house, we don't do, or, hey, you're cutting in front of me online. What am I thinking? Well, very often, the first thing we do think in life is we seem to have some sense of attack and we want to defend ourselves. So we attack. We have a how dare you, or that's not going to happen. Rather than seeing it for what it might be, which is usually a piece of information that you can use or not, without getting all caught up in all the emotions and energy around saying, well, this is bad and this is horrible and this is never going to work and you're wrong and I have to be right. That's an exhausting way to go through life. Whatever life is, suffice it to say, it's a mystery to behold, both the biology of it. I'm talking about human beings at this point. And our conscious life, our life of consciousness, the things that we are always aware of, the things that we have forgotten, which are no longer on the desktop of our everyday awareness, but are still active energies in our subconscious mind. And there are also active energies at the level of soul. This author calls it superconscious. You can call it your higher power, your better angel. Call it what you will. But life is utterly amazing. And how we go through life is a choice that we make. Again, what am I thinking? What am I thinking about the news? When my thinking takes me down a rabbit hole, I can stop that train of thought. And I can ask myself, am I willing, am I interested in living in a world that is based on my reaction? And I bet you a nickel 100% of the time it's going to be, no, I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in the world where people are always fighting. I don't want to live in a world where people are finding fault with every single thing that somebody does or somebody says. What am I thinking, and do I want to experience the results of that thinking, knowing that what I think will outpicture as the events of my life? What I think will outpicture as the events of my life. I dare you to prove that that is not true in the great ongoing of your experience. So as this author says, awareness is the key, awareness of your conscious state, and cultivating your conscious awareness. So at least I know that I am thinking, at least I know that I am projecting some kind of condemnation on an event or a person or a situation, and knowing at any point that I can withdraw that projection and I can put it safely away. I can withdraw any projection or any judgment, and I can put it away. Or better yet, lay that energy at the foot of the Godhead, so the energy itself might be reformatted and reused and recycled into some other better purpose. As hard as life can be, it is a rare privilege. And as challenging as it can be to be a decent human being, we can do it. I happen to believe, through the experience of my life, that it's worth the effort. It's way more worth the effort. For whatever I put out does indeed come back. As the Sufis say, when I take a step toward the beloved takes 100 steps towards me. Life is biased toward life. Life, the cosmos that we're a part of, the unimaginable massiveness of this cosmos, which means harmony, order, this cosmos beyond our own solar system that we're a part of, operates on principle and law, and it favors more. It always favors more. Resting in that comfort, resting in what appears to be the truth of the manifest cosmos, I can begin to work on myself, to direct my own energies in ways that are most important to me, most vitally important to me, and most useful to me and to you at whatever phase you're in life. That doesn't matter. It's always going to be the same. Because what next is always up for all of us. So in the meantime, how do I want to be? And the great poet, Mary Oliver, and this is many people's favorite poem. I know that most of you know it, and it's so worth hearing. It's called The Summer Day, and it's worth hearing on this summer day in July. And it's worth thinking about all the days of the year. And this is what the poet writes. This is how the poet thinks. Who made the world? Who made the swan, the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she shifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down into the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I may have been doing all day. But tell me, what else should I have been doing? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver. with these 12 powers that we have, it doesn't so much matter that we think about them and talk about them, but it matters most that we use them. Is there a meaning towards life? I don't know. I know that I have a purpose. I get to choose that. Is there God's will for me? I say no. For me, I say no. There's no God's will for me. As an active part of nature, the only will that the creative life energy has is that every living thing comes to full fruition and go full cycle. Is that what God wants for me? I accept that. To have a full experience of life that has human aspects with a spiritual understanding, and to enjoy it, to suffer it, to expand in and through it, and when the time comes, which may be too soon or not, to go, wow, how lucky I was to be here. When the poet says, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? You don't have to tell anybody. But with all the earnestness I can summon, I would beg you to be about the business of doing something with your life, of doing something that is meaningful, knowing that you have this amazing, unique, astonishing gift of consciousness. You have a body that knows how to heal itself until maybe not anymore. But in the meantime, how am I going to spend my time the very best I can so I am continually refilled and renourished and encouraged by all that is about me to bring forth the gift that I have. The way an apricot tree brings forth apricots, and a lavender bush brings forth lavender. What gift, even if it's a fragrance or a taste, can I leave with the world? That's a big consideration, isn't it? But you've been given a lot. And I don't much hear it anymore, but in the olden days we used to say, to whom much is given, much is required. I take that as a spiritual injunction. And I invite you to do that too on this summer day. To know that no matter what you think your limitations are, you have been given much. And there is much yet in this life to experience, so have at it, yeah? Do anything that serves your health and wholeness. Avoid that which would diminish the life-living experience of any other thing and person. And realize that there's a whole cosmos of opportunity all around you to offer you new ideas, new adventures, new experiences, and a new day. I will thank you for your attention. If any word of this has lodged somewhere in your awareness or your soul where it can be beneficial or useful to you, that would be my answered prayer. And until we meet again, do your work as best you can and be kind. And I bet I'll see you again sometime soon. Take care.